Hello everyone, my name is Kelly Young. I'm a 4th-5th grade teacher at Limburg-Schweitzer Elementary School, and I am so excited to be able to read you a wonderful picture book today called Layla's Lunchbox, a Ramadan Story by Reem Farouki. Illustrations by Leah Lyon. Here we go, friends. "We won't be needing this for a while," said Layla's mother, hanging up Layla's lunchbox. "Imagine! I won't be eating lunch for a whole month," replied Layla with a twirl. "I won't have to pack lunch for a whole month," said her mom with a bigger twirl. The year before, Layla had wanted to fast with her best friends Hind and Ishrat during Ramadan, but Layla's mom had insisted she was too small. Remembering that, Layla stopped twirling. She missed her friends. Moving from one continent to another had been hard. On the map in her atlas, North America and the Middle East were 10 inches apart, but in real life, she was so much farther away. She wished she was only 10 inches away from Hind and Ishrat. She knew the sign by the highway said, "Peachtree City. You'll love to call it home." But she didn't agree with the sign. Abu Dhabi still felt like her home. The next morning before sunrise, Layla's mom gently nudged her. "Layla," she whispered, "Sari time." Layla chomped on her chocolate chip pancakes with her eyes closed. "Delicious," she said. "Come, let's pray now," said her mom. After Sari, Layla snuggled back into her bed until her mom woke her up again, this time for school. As she left the house, her mom handed her a note. "Layla, please give this note to Mrs. Penworth." Without her lunchbox to carry, her fingers felt extra free and swingy. She felt so light she skipped to the school bus stop. On the school bus, she read her mom's note. "Dear Mrs. Penworth, this will be Layla's first time fasting for the month of Ramadan, so it is an exciting time for us. Please excuse Layla from lunch for this special month. Thanks, Mrs. Malik." Layla didn't feel so bouncy anymore. What if Mrs. Penworth didn't know about Ramadan? No one else would be fasting with her. She folded the note into a teeny tiny square and hid it in her book bag. Layla walked slowly to her class. Her throat felt dry all morning. When lunchtime arrived, she still hadn't given Mrs. Penworth her note. "Layla, did you forget your lunch?" asked Mrs. Penworth. Layla opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Samantha volunteered. "I'll share my lunch with Layla." Mrs. Penworth shook her head. "Thank you for the offer, Samantha, but Layla, please get a sandwich from the cafeteria." Layla followed her classmates to the cafeteria. "Layla, do you want some of my cream roll?" asked Anna. Layla thought of telling Anna that she was fasting, but she didn't think anyone at Sunnyvale Elementary School knew about Ramadan. "No thanks," she started to say. I didn't bring my—" "Are you sure?" asked Anna, unwrapping the cream rolls. Layla watched the cream roll get smaller and smaller, and she didn't feel so sure. Cream rolls were her favorite. She looked away. Her nose still smelled food. Layla wished she had given Mrs. Penworth the note. Even Isaiah's bologna sandwich looked tasty, and Layla didn't even like bologna. Her stomach rumbled. Suddenly, she had an idea. While everyone was busy eating, she sneaked out of the cafeteria. Her stomach stopped growling. "Why, Layla, it's a pleasure to see you here. But what brings you here?" "Here at lunchtime?" asked Mrs. Carmen, the librarian. Layla felt safe among all the books. She opened her mouth, and this time her words tumbled out. Layla told Mrs. Carmen that Mrs. Penworth and her classmates didn't know she was fasting. She told her how she missed Hind and Ishrat. It felt good to tell someone all the words she had been inside of her head all morning, and especially to tell her about Ramadan. Mrs. Carmen understood. "You must feel special to fast this Ramadan," said the librarian with a smile. "I do," said Layla. "But why is it so hard to explain?" "You know what I always do when I can't get my thoughts out, or when I get shy about talking?" asked Mrs. Carmen. "I write my thoughts down." Layla got to work. She wrote neatly, adding extra loops to her capital L. She worked so hard her cheeks turned pink. "Dear Mrs. Penworth, I didn't forget my lunchbox today. It's Ramadan. My mom finally let me fast. This means I won't be eating lunch for a month. Sincerely, Layla. P.S. I'm Muslim. P.P.S. My mom wrote you a note too. Here it is. P.P.P.S. Here's a poem I wrote about Ramadan. Ramadan is a month Muslims celebrate, a time to count our blessings and appreciate. Muslims fast before sunrise and sunset. But wait, that's not all just yet. Ramadan is a time for lots of prayer. We help the poor people to show we care. So in the day I won't be eating any food, but hopefully we'll stay in a good mood. Layla hurried back to the cafeteria to join her class. Before school was out, she quickly dropped both notes onto Mrs. Penworth's desk. The next morning, Layla swung her fingers as she waited for the school bus. Would Mrs. Penworth like her poem? Layla hoped Mrs. Penworth wouldn't think she had forgotten her lunchbox again. She slowly climbed each step on the school bus. In class, Mrs. Penworth didn't say anything, so Layla wondered what had happened. At times like this, she wished Hen and Ishrat were there with her. They would know what to say. At lunchtime, Layla's feet felt heavy. She was sure Mrs. Penworth hadn't seen the notes. Everyone would think she had forgotten her lunchbox again. As she was leaving class, Mrs. Penworth patted Layla on the back and handed her a message. Mrs. Penworth had made her capital L in Layla's name extra loopy. Dear Layla, I enjoyed your lovely poem about Ramadan. I'm impressed you're fasting. What a special time for you. You and your family must be thrilled. Would you share your poem with class today? After lunch? You could go to the library this month instead of the cafeteria. Mrs. Carmen is excited to see you. Sincerely, Mrs. Penworth. P.S. Mrs. Carmen told me you missed your friends. I hope you keep making new friends with our class. Layla twirled all the way to the library. She couldn't wait to share her Ramadan poem with her class. Later, at Iftar, she would celebrate this day. Author's note. As a child, I remember growing up in Abu Dhabi, wishing I could fast with my best friends Hind and Hishrat, but my mother thought I was far too small to fast. When I finally was allowed to fast, I missed their company. Like Layla, my family moved to Peachtree City, Georgia, all the way from Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates. During Ramadan, I found it challenging to explain to my non-Muslim friends why I was not eating lunch with them. The library became my safe place away from all the fragrant food smells, and I spent many hours there enjoying good books. I hope we all have the courage, like Layla, to explain and celebrate our beliefs. Contrary to what some may think, Ramadan is not all about food. It's about growing up and finally being able to fast. It's about cherishing the family with whom you sit down every evening at sunset to open your fast. It's about praying with the community and sharing with those in need. It's about inviting friends over for iftar and sending food to your neighbors. Layla's poem is adapted from a note we used to stick on food my mother would send to our neighbors during Ramadan. It's a special month to celebrate, and each year I look forward to it, with or without cream rolls. Have a blessed Ramadan. All right, friends, I hope you enjoyed our read aloud of Layla's Lunchbox. Check back soon for another Ramadan read aloud. Have a wonderful day and stay safe. I
families, I'm Emily, and I've been asked to do some crafts for Ramadan with you. Our first craft is going to require just a few things. We're going to need a piece of white paper. You're going to need some colored paper, or if you don't have colored paper, several sheets of white paper that you can color with crayons. Glue, scissors, a pencil, and crayons. So we're going to start out by taking your white paper, and if you are fluent in Arabic, you can write or print out on your paper. When the world stayed apart, my place was with God and my family. And then write your name or your family name and the date. Okay? And then it can be in whatever language you prefer. Then we are going to trace the hand of each family member in your family. So I've already pre-traced my husband, which is the biggest hand in our family, and my son Connor, and my son Aiden. And now I'm going to do my hand. And then we're going to cut it out. So kind of see, there's my hand on the paper. Now, if you don't have colored paper, you can do exactly the same thing on white paper. Trace it out on white paper, and then start to color it in whatever color you'd like. And then cut that hand right out. Now, if it works best if you have 4 or 5 family members. If you have a larger family that has 8, you might want to split your family up into 2. It makes it a little tough to do the second part if you have a lot of family members. But it just makes it a little bit simpler. If you have, I'd say under 6, anything over 6, you might want to split your family up on 2 separate sheets of paper for the next part, which I'll explain later. So you cut your hand out, and once everything is cut out, then you can kind of erase any dark lines that you can still see. Your eraser. Then on your smallest hand, then on your smallest hand, you just simply want to fold it almost in half, but just press the center part. You don't have to, okay, so we're just going to fold it kind of like that. Okay, so you can see that. Here's it open, here's it closed, you can see on the side. And then, to make the heart symmetrical, we're going to cut a fairly large heart. Try not to cut into the finger area. You want it, when it opens up, you want it to be in the center of your hand. Like your heart is in your hand. So opened up, that's what it looks like. So again, if it's folded on the side, here's the heart that we cut out. You remove your heart, and that's what's left. Okay? So that's your smallest hand. That's the hand that's going to be in the front. Okay? So now, if you were to place all your hands together, and again, Connor and I have almost the same size hands, so if you just place them kind of offset, you'll be able to see the hands, but you still want to be able to see the hands sticking through. And then my husband's hand, which is the biggest, so that's how, when they go on the paper, that's how it's going to look. So you take the next size hand, simply like this, and you're going to draw that heart, just kind of trace that heart on the inside of that edge, okay? The inside edge of your heart, so that looks like this. Can you see? And then you're going to connect this part of the heart to the other pointy part of the heart with a simple line, just kind of like that, okay? And that's the line you're going to fold on for the next cut. Now you want, in order to see all the hearts as they come out, you want to see a little bit of the color from each hand coming through. So you're going to draw this heart just a little bit smaller than the other heart so you can see through it. Okay? So you can see Here's my first line on the outside, and there's the new line. And then I'm going to cut that. That's my heart. So when you cut it, I'm going to erase that first heart that I did. When you put this one over the top, you can see a little bit of the green heart shows through, just a tiny bit, okay? So, then you're going to take the next size hand, do the same thing, you're going to place it over slightly, and you can leave this one over the top so you can make sure that your hands are lined up well. Okay. And then you're going to take that second size hand and do the same exact thing with the next size. So you're going to draw your heart, connect the pointy part that comes down to the other part right there, just like that. And then you're going to fold on that line. And you're going to draw another heart inside it, just a little bit smaller than the heart before. And then cut that heart out. Now, if this is too complicated for your littlest members of your family, you don't have to do the heart part. You can just leave the hands and glue all the hands together, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. And then we're going to erase that first heart we drew. As you can see, they all start to line up so that you see each color through the heart, and you see each finger as well. So finally, we're going to take our last hand, our biggest hand. It may not be the last one for you though if you have a big family, and we're going to place it so that we're going to use that last blue hand to draw the heart, and we're going to do exactly the same thing again. Once we have our heart, we're going to connect the 2 points, just like we did the last couple times. Draw your heart, connect the points, fold on that center piece right there. And then we're going to draw a heart that's just a little bit smaller than the heart before. And then cut that heart out. Okay, so now comes the gluing part. So if you can see, all of our hands, I dropped my hands. So if you line up all of our hands, you can see all the hearts all the way through, just like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our piece of paper, a white piece of paper with our either handwritten or printed, whichever you prefer, if you like things nice and neat, or if you're not as exceptional at writing things with your hand. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to glue down the largest hand. So the largest hand goes first. We're going to go backwards. Just how we cut out, we're going to go exactly backwards. So you don't want to put on too much glue, but you want to make sure you get it onto each finger. And then you also want to make sure that you get it around the heart. Okay? So there's our first hand. See how the little white heart shines through? Now we're going to take our next largest hand and do exactly the same thing. We're going to put glue all around the edges of each finger, and then around the heart, just like this. And then you're going to place the hand so that your heart fits directly over the other heart. And then press down for a second. So it looks just like that. You can see the purple shining through. We'll take our next largest hand. Same thing.
It's 4 o'clock.
And again, if you were coloring with crayons, it helps to use different colors. You can even use like flowers on one, different people's interests on different things, different hands. And again, you can see each time it's showing through. That heart is still in the center. Now take this final hand, same exact thing on each finger and around the heart. Press it down really good. Then if you see any lines on your heart, you can erase them now. Okay, and there we have it. There is our craft for Ramadan, our first craft. So we may not all be together, but we are united in our service of God. There you are. Have a great day.